On this episode of Star Trek Universe, we are reviewing Discovery 501, Red Directive, and 502, Under the Twin Moons, right after these words from our mystery sponsors.
Welcome to Star Trek Universe podcast, where you get to listen in on two lifelong friends sit and just give an old chinwag about the old Star Trek. My name is Matthew Carroll.
I'm David C. Roberson.
What's up, buddy?
The old chinwag, huh?
Yeah, give him the old chinwag, buddy.
Yeah. It's been a while since we've done one of these together.
Yeah, we did a few news episodes in the off time, but you must have been working with Effie, and I have had a really busy year, so I've been like, that's cool, do that. I'll just do some news episodes here and there because, I don't know how much we've talked about it here, but I adopted my niece this year, and then moved into this house, and since we'd been doing these regularly, my mom moved in here, and it's just been it's been quite a year. A lot more responsibilities. I
borrowed your carpet cleaner. It was a big year.
Yeah, you did borrow my carpet cleaner.
That's all I got going on, kids.
That's the only thing that's happened to you this year.
The only thing.
But yeah, it's been a busy year, and I'm excited though. The Trek is back. I forget when the last one went off the air. It was like last year, right? This is the first one of the year.
Don't ask me dates. I don't know.
Okay. I
don't remember.
I just remember it was a while ago. But it feels good to be back, and I really, we're gonna do. It's gonna be a bit of a quick one because on top of all that we just mentioned, I went to Austin this week for the eclipse and couldn't record while I was out there, so we're recording this mere hours before the next episode drops. So we're just gonna do a quick kind of catch up on what the premiere of Discovery, the two-part premiere was like. What'd you think of the two-part premiere, buddy?
I am a bit worried because there were things like I am very excited that the Progenitors
would be
heavily involved in this.
Yeah. And
I feel like it didn't come to me until I was watching it. And I was like, have I been conflating the Preservers and the Progenitors all these years? Because I've read so much the Expanded Universe novels. Yeah. And apparently Ronald D. Moore did conceive that they might be the same species as the Preservers.
Okay.
Specifically left it open in TNG's The Chase.
Okay.
But Star Trek Online and several works by Judith and Garfield Reeves-Stevens have said they were the same race. We don't have it official canon, though.
Okay, not as actual, not on screen.
Right. So I'm excited to see what they do with the Progenitors. I would be more excited if it wasn't Discovery doing it.
I kind of like this idea, like that it's if they're gonna solve where life came from, and maybe even introduce the Federation to their essentially their gods. And maybe we get one last test of humanity, or the humanoid, can they make peace? They were talking about the Breen Imperium and all this. Can they maybe they'll be challenged by the Progenitors to that they still haven't been able to make peace with all, you know what I mean? I can totally see they're building out this idea of the Federation being a real thing, and can they stand up to whatever maybe the Progenitors have something for them. I don't know. It could be really interesting. I'm seeing some cool themes setting up. And if that's the case, I would kind of rather it happen in the 31st century than the current canon. You know what I mean? If they're going to, let's say this ends with the Federation, getting the secrets to life in the universe for real. Then it's okay, maybe we don't want all of our people in the current timeline to know that. I don't know. I could see why this is kind of a cute place to do it, I guess.
Yeah, the only reason I worry about, I agree with you on that. The only reason I worry about it being Discovery is because they don't have a great track record of landing the seasons.
Yeah.
And I'm also a little worried because I know they didn't know it was the final episode. It was the final season, and then they had to go back and do some reshoots.
True.
So I'm a little concerned. But then, we do have confirmation that Starfleet Academy is set in the 32nd century now.
Oh, okay, great.
So we're gonna get more in that timeline. Maybe they'll follow through and have some people show up from time to time, but I don't know. I'm open.
Yeah. Me too. And this, I think it's gonna be good. I really do. I really like the way that Discovery has kind of, I feel like a lot of the new technology and stuff was unsettling at first. Like, it's so whiz bang, zoom bang, whoa, everything, cameras moving quick, and but I feel like this season, particularly like these first 2 episodes, they did a really good job of utilizing the new technology, the new ways they move in the world, the traveling, of course, but also the way they use the teleporters. Transporters, I don't know what I call them, teleporters.
I mean, that's what they do. They teleport.
It's the generic name. It's the CVS brand.
It's the Kirkland.
Yeah, the Kirkland signature teleporters compared to transporters.
It's like Rick and Morty. Like you go to the teleporter and it just sucks on a cigarette and blows it in your face. You're like, how did a transporter even smoke? No, teleporter.
Yeah, I really, really enjoyed this episode's direction. The directing in this episode was really, really good. They did a lot of things that, like, I feel like in the past have felt a little jumpy, or like, hey, look at this camera move we can do now. And it's like a spinning camera, and you're like, come on, calm the camera down. Like, they used a lot of those same techniques, but it seemed like it was more planned and intentional and executed well. When so many times they did interesting cuts when they were transporting, where it was like they'd be walking and they just walk into the next room or whatever, and they're in a new space, but it made the world feel like it gave me like consequences to the fact that they've updated the transporter technology to where the world and the universe feels smaller. Like it all feels, everything is closer. They're walking, and the way this show can bounce around from world to world and make it all feel like the same day, that's cool, man. And it feels like that's what happens. You watch a story about cowboys and it takes them, 2 days to get across the mountain. Then you watch a show about whatever our time period, and it takes us, we go wherever we want in a state. But then, like, you know what I mean? Like, it just, that advancement of that, the frontier is over. Like, everything's explored. They're just bouncing around to different places. It's a different kind of world. And like, I don't know. I guess I appreciated it in these episodes more than I have in Discovery at all.
Yeah, I think I still really don't like any of that.
Oh yeah, I loved it.
It makes the universe feel so small. And there are other things on top of that, like Maul being, Book's mentor's daughter. I'm like, okay, why? And he's acting like this might be the only family I have left. It's not, though, She doesn't know. You've never met. You said that. Like,
well, he was trained by her father. So,
I don't care.
There's something special to that. If the man who he took this man's name, he thinks of him as a father figure, raised by the same man, like likely, or at least like, we don't know if she was raised by her father or if like she might have lost her father at a young age. There was a thing that said, rewind her to this age or whatever. I was wondering if, when I first saw her, I was like, is this the way that she had looked at him and everything? I thought that like he had killed her father or her mother or something. Like, I thought that was what we're getting. But I like this. I like it's kind of more interesting. I
don't think I like the way it was phrased. Like, this is the closest thing I have left to family. No, it's not. She might not feel that way at all. She gave you a look because you said her dad's name.
What does wanting something to do with someone have to do with family?
Why does he want to have anything to do with her? Like,
no, my point is, family. I think the idea is the way he's looking at family is having history with someone. His entire world's been lost, except for this crew in Burnham, who those relationships are strained right now. Like he has no one that he has a past with. He was a like so like the idea of connecting to someone that has a connection to the past of his life. Like I feel that. It's like if one of my best friends or whatever had a child, it would feel like, oh man, I'm hanging out with their child, like the person that sort of raised them. I don't know. I get it. I dig it. I guess like, I don't know. I don't see the complaint.
It's not really a complaint so much as it's just like, it's a stretch for me. And it also made the universe feel a bit smaller than I wanted it to.
Sure.
So I know I've talked about this before. In media res often works pretty well. Hated it here.
Yeah, it was really obvious what was about to happen. Just like, oh man, this is not how I meant to start my night.
Yeah, like my go-to example is the Firefly episode Out of Gas, where we open on the mostly deserted Serenity and Mal collapses onto the metal grated floor.
Yeah.
And you're like, what happened? But in this episode, it opens, and it's horrendously clunky. I feel like I've had this complaint very recently, and I don't remember where it was. But the way they do it here just feels like a teaser for the episode, like those freaking 10-second teasers of the trailer you're about to watch. We have Michael surfing the warping ship, doing all the things, high action, no stakes at all. Then 4 hours earlier, and we see that the first scene is so slow moving, so full of exposition that they had to have realized, oh, we wrote this way too slowly, and this is boring. But once we catch up to Michael riding the ship, it is the exact same thing we saw before. There's no fresh perspective.
But it's not, actually. Like, there's a few things that change.
Is it?
Yeah, well, she says a few things in a different order than she said them at the beginning. There's something she says earlier on, because the last thing she says is, "This is not how I expected my night to go," and then it does the flashback thing. Like, that's the way. But in when it goes back to it, she says something else later that was, it's weird. It was a little weird. It was like which I think lends credence to your theory that I think they likely realized in the editing this was boring and wanted to move it around, but needed to needed to borrow a line here or there to make it make sense.
It was close enough that I didn't notice. Like, there was definitely like a chunk that I was like, you just made me watch this twice.
Yeah. And
that bugs me. Like,
it was short enough that watching it twice didn't bother me.
Yeah. So yeah, I found myself kind of murking through that first episode with, it was like Tilly and Adira being very awkward. And I'm like, do we have to keep showing them awkwardly smiling at each other? I don't care about Tilly's crush on the nameless guy because, they're banking on us just wanting a romance for Tilly, and I don't care. I don't know the guy. We barely know Tilly, really, because they lean so hard on her just being awkward that they don't really give her a character. So she, Mary Wiseman is saying, don't try to get me, when they asked, Cinema Blend asked her if she was going to be in Starfleet Academy. She's like, don't try to get me. We can be friends or we can be enemies. Clearly she signed an NDA. Right. And I'm just like, I am so desperately hoping she's not a part of Academy. Like, kill her, heroic sacrifice, whatever you need to do, either that or make her a solid character with more depth. I need more than her yelling, "Shut up, Champagne." Oh my God.
I guess, I don't know, man. It doesn't bother me. Like, I think she does have a character. Like, I'm not saying she's the deepest character on the show.
And it's 100% cringe. They give her very little to do other than be cringy as shit.
Yeah, I don't agree. I like Tilly fine. Like, they give her, she is smart. she is so scared of authority, but also always willing to break the rules for Michael. So she has this like affection for Michael and commitment to her people. She's incredibly loyal. I mean, she's not a like groundbreaking character. I don't think she's the geeky best friend. She's Michael Samwise Gamgee or whatever. Like she's not she's not something, but she's an archetype, I think. But like I don't find her. I guess like all that, like most of the time when she's doing that stuff you're talking about, that is cringe for sure, but it's deliberately cringe and it's supposed to be funny. Yeah. I find it funny, so I guess I don't have a problem with it.
I usually don't, but then it also like, because I want so much more for the character, like it bothers me. Like she is supposed to be so mathematically like on it and so intelligent, and then like in the second episode they have her and Adira like, oh yeah, you tag along, you're the scientist. And they are useless until the dude they need to like redeem so that it's okay for him to be the first officer comes in and mansplains everything to them and tells them how to fix it. That bugged the hell out of me. I was like, I like this guy already. I think he's like right. They do have their heads up their asses as far as like not acknowledging the threats that are brewing against the Federation, because they're all about, we're in an era of peace. No, you're not. You're not about to be. Right. And this guy knows it, but they're like, and he's absolutely right, because he says, you know, this is a political move. This isn't, because let's be clear. They called him, they held a hearing with the president of the Federation to strip this guy of his captaincy because he gave the bad guys an idea.
Right.
That is the stupidest shit I've ever seen.
Well, he also took a dangerous shot that could have done it himself. Like, it didn't cause the problem, but it could have. And I mean, clearly, like that was the thing that they were actually talking to him about. Like, yes, that action gave them the idea, which actually caused the problem. But they that's why they came in and asked Michael, did you agree with his decision to take the shot? And she didn't want to answer because she knew that would mean throwing him under the bus. But like, no, she didn't. And I think like a 30% chance that you're going to wipe out a colony or whatever, like that's a pretty bad call. It's a pretty bad call.
It is, but also like how many times have we seen like any number of other Starfleet captains make those kinds of decisions? You know, like throughout Star Trek, like it's the Kobayashi Maru. Like,
well, it is, but it's no, it's not, because it's
no-win scenarios.
It's not, because he doesn't even know what this thing does. He's been told it's a red directive, so he believes it's important. But the idea, that's all he knows. Hey, this mission's extra important to the Federation. So it's like the idea that he would give up the ideals of the Federation to protect the Federation is the entire thing that we don't let captains do. Like, it's one thing when you're upholding the ideals of the Federation, so you ignore the rules. It's another thing when you're like, I'm so protectionist that I'm gonna like do a thing that risks the lives of all these like citizens. I think that court martial was completely justified, and even like letting him back in is a little dicey. You know, maybe he would have gotten away with it. It probably wouldn't have ever been caused if Maul and Locke didn't shoot the missile, but like they did. It uncovered the whole like what happened. The mission. Suddenly that mission looked a little dicey, and they were like, "Who did this?" and he got in trouble.
Yeah, like I think like I'm not sure how I feel about it. Like, other than like it feels like this Federation might be the Federation that should have existed during Kirk and Picard's era, or maybe because they do feel like they're like a little more stringent, because it feels like Kirk, Picard, Sisko, all these other captains did shit like this all the time, and there might be a review, there might be a court-martial hearing or so.
Yeah,
but they get off. They always get off. There's always like some reason.
It's political for sure. Like I'm not denying that is still a political thing, but it's political that like they're holding his feet to the fire, because if they don't, like what they're saying to this colony and all these other worlds they're trying to hold into the Federation, they're saying, a captain might endanger your population, might take a shot that's like 30% chance to kill a population, and we're cool with that. You know what I mean? Like the avalanche caused this to be a very public problem, and suddenly they have to make a decision about if they're going to fire the person who would make a decision like that. And like, if they don't, it's going to be very clear that they did not have control of the situation, and they were operating among this population and almost caused the deaths of, whatever, thousands of people, hundreds of people, however many people in those little camps.
Yeah. What did you think about the ships flying down and shielding them?
It was cool.
Yeah. I thought it was cool.
Man, I thought so many things in this episode were cool. Like, I loved seeing a Soong type android. Like, that's like 900 years old at least. He mentioned something about 900 years ago, and it's like, and they talk about how even for the era he was like him being old technology and stuff. I just thought it was really, really cool. I loved them racing on those dirt bikes. Like, I think for a long time, Discovery bothered me a little bit, as we were talking about this is the whiz bang of it all. But I think part of me has just, because there's so much other Star Trek now, I don't have to put the weight of all Star Trek on Discovery, where I'm like, yeah, let's have a Doom Buggy race. Come on, go for it. This is like, we let Picard do it.
That was a mistake. I still maintain, but
I know. I just know you hate that scene, so I thought I'd throw it out there.
I don't. I used to hate it. I think now I just kind of feel like, it is what it is. It is what it is.
It is what it is. But I guess my point is, now we have. I feel like Strange New Worlds is doing much more to the traditional Star Trek thing that I like. We've got freaking Lower Decks being like way out there and like doing a completely different thing with Star Trek. And Discovery, I have grown to appreciate the language of it, and it's so much different. And I no longer feel like I need to put the weight of all Star Trek on it. So I'm like, yeah, run with it. Do y'all's thing. And so much, and it's a lot of this. I enjoyed the scene where she like gets sucked out into space, and her suit goes all Iron Man, and she like puts on thrusters and lands on the ship. I liked it all, man.
Yeah, I mean, if we're doing 32nd century, if we're doing programmable matter, I think that's all dope. I love that. I loved the ships diving down and protecting the people with their combined warp fields or shields or whatever the hell it was.
Yeah.
But it's 32nd century. We can do that now. And, I've seen the complaints, but I do think that there would be less complaints if they hung a lantern on it and said, hey, that shit's dangerous. We've never tried this before. Or, play into the fact that all of these people are still like 800 years removed. And maybe they don't know that you can do that. And they're like, oh, yeah, we can do that. It still feels a little bit like I would have liked to have seen the crew of Discovery adjusting to being 800 years in the future a bit more. But, modern pacing doesn't leave a ton of room for that. Like mostly everything felt very rushed and very crowded. Yeah. I did love that Kovic is basically Mustafa from Austin Powers. Ask him 3 times and he'll tell you every damn thing. He's like, I can't tell you. It's classified. Red Directive. No, but that doesn't answer my question. I know. Okay, fine.
Okay,
the progenitors.
It's beginning to smell like almonds.
It's not good.
And that is not good. Will Ferrell, so funny.
Yeah, I'm not really trying to shit on the episodes. Like, there are things that bugged me, things that will continue, that apparently will just always bug me about Discovery, that I just am not crazy about, but I had fun watching them. Yeah. I'm really looking forward to what comes next.
Yeah, the whole, I knew you'd be excited for the Progenitors.
Yes.
It's something we've talked about many times, and something that'll be really cool to get new canon stuff about the Progenitors, and maybe they will canonize some of the things from books that you like. That'd be really fun. I really like the fact that it looks like this season's going to be one big escape room. I just enjoy that.
Yeah, that doesn't thrill me. That makes me feel like I'm about to watch a season of Aquaman.
The second Aquaman or the first one?
Either one.
Are they both very much like that?
We got to run around after a thing, and
yeah.
So it's just Indiana Jones. I just don't care
it's
for
Indiana Jones. I agree. I didn't remember that from Aquaman, but I haven't seen the second one.
You're not missing anything.
That's a bummer. Yeah, that's what I keep hearing, and it's just a bummer to me.
Pile of shit. It's not. It's not a pile of shit. If you like the first one, you'll like the second one probably.
Yeah, and I like the first one fine.
Yeah, it's just that people are bummed out because the damn universe isn't continuing and no one cares.
Right. That's really
the thing.
Yeah, that's the thing. And I've been meaning. I have had it in my queue for a while, and I keep being like, I want to see it, but I guess there's no rush. It's not going anywhere, and it's not continuing on. So,
yeah.
Anyway, I love that stuff. I like real escape rooms. One thing I really liked was, and I'm hoping this will continue, and I don't know that it will, but at least the Romulan puzzles. Yes. Some of those puzzles, if you know Star Trek well enough, you can solve before they can. Like that's my favorite thing about Indiana Jones or any of those things is when the puzzle on screen is solvable by the audience before the characters. And when they're missing the fifth thing, you're like, oh, well, you start thinking about secrecy, and like we know from watching Picard last year that like, the entrances are secret, or I guess 3 years ago, season 1.
The real entrance is in the back.
Yeah, the real entrance is in the back or below. Like all that stuff is like in other episodes, and you can kind of be like, oh, a Romulan would hide it here. Like it's cool. It's fun stuff.
And I love that they zeroed in on that one Romulan and the group of Romulans from TNG's The Chase, and be like,
yes,
that was the scientist. I was like, yay!
Yeah, that's so much fun. So much fun. So yeah, I think that's really fun, and I like all the stuff. I'm wondering if when we get to Trill, we'll have more puzzles, and the puzzles will be informed by what we know about Trill. Like how will we, like even them getting the planet and that electromagnetic field. Like if you think about it hard enough, you probably could have connected that was somehow the power source ahead of time. It just seems like they're writing this for people like me who like kind of figuring that stuff out ahead of time. Getting those aha moments,
Interested to see what they're going to do with the rest of the season, and I'm not terribly into the bad guys so far, like Maul and Locke, whatever their names are.
That's them.
But I am really curious what the treasure is. If is it creation technology? What is it? Uncovering the mystery of what the progenitors really were doing, and
right.
Some of the expanded universe said that they were the ones that created the galactic barriers to keep things out until the races they seeded were evolved enough to, stop something.
That would be really interesting.
It would be.
And they're like, what if they they turn off the electric fence or whatever? Because they feel like we're ready. Like that's exactly what I was talking about in the beginning. We're like, maybe in this century, they finally achieved something that they can look at them and go, you are an example of a race that can finally, you can see these other galaxies, it's time. And now that you have the spore drive, you can go anywhere you want. Like, that could be cool.
Well,
it could be cool.
They breached the galactic barrier last year.
Yeah, I remember.
Met those sing-songy things.
Yeah. And again, that's another very puzzle-based episode, which I love. I love that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So anyway, it was cool.
Yeah, I'm glad you do. I'm glad others do. It's not my favorite thing, but at the same time, we are tackling something that I've wanted to see them tackle in canon for a long damn time.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm here for the ride. I'm very curious what they're going to do about it.
Yeah, the one thing that did annoy me. Because I'd almost forgotten about it because it's been a while, and I'm annoyed that they haven't done more with it, and that is Saru and his transformation.
Mm-hmm.
Like I know that he can now use quills to fire, but when they did that whole thing, I'm forgetting what they call it, the Varakai or.
Yeah, I don't
remember. His species,
when he went through the thing, puberty, basically.
Yeah, he goes through puberty for his species, and and they had this whole thing about like how it was supposed to kill him. Oh no, he was supposed to go like mad or something like that. He was supposed to go crazy. And then he goes through it, and it just turns out that basically his fear glands shrink, and he like is now supposed to be more confident and more like his basically his hormone levels change, and now he's going to basically becomes an adult who can like, he's no longer as fearful, and he's supposed to be more bold. And then I feel like he hasn't really changed. He's still just the same Saru. Like we talked about it at the time, how like, oh, that's really cool. What's it going to mean for him to go through this thing that none of his species has gone through? And like, and then I was thinking about this episode because they used the little quills that fire out of his face. Yeah. But like they haven't done anything character wise with him. Like not nothing, but like they haven't done a big transformation of his character, or even played with those idea of his like hormone levels changing or being more bold or whatever. I don't know. Do you agree?
I think I do disagree. Like they had to walk a line because they had to make sure that he was still the same character.
Sure.
But if you go back to Discovery Season 1, he is afraid of everything. All he's doing is talking about sensing death and freaking out about shit. Like, he really does. He gets more chill.
Yeah, I think that's true. It didn't feel so. What I was looking for from him is he has been a character who has been so fearful and had to fight that nature to be more bold and exploratory and like take risks. Like that was his arc for the first few seasons. Like he had to be pushed out of his comfort zone, you know? And then once that change happened, I kind of wanted him to have like the opposite impulse and have to learn to pull it back or something. Like I wanted to see it have some impact on his character. And I do kind of feel like they just sort of like continued the evolution of him getting used to being less fearful. Yeah. I don't know. It doesn't feel... It seemed like when that happened, they were alluding to something big for his character, and I don't think that big thing ever showed up.
Like he was going to go from being like terrified to being freaking Wolverine or some shit,
or like taking too many risks. You know, just like having to learn to balance when your body, when your brain is changed, having to learn to rebalance yourself to be who you want to be. You know, like I think that's a really interesting idea. Like how much of you is you? You know, like that whole like does he choose to try to be like who he was, or does he embrace some of his new boldness, or does he, you know, like what pieces of himself does he try to hold on? Who are we? Are we the people at our core? Are we the chemicals running through our brain, or are we like this like complex tapestry of decisions we're making about that chemistry? I don't know. I just thought it was an interesting area to explore, and it has been left on the table mostly. Just when he shot those quills, I remembered it. I was like, that annoys me that we're like 2 seasons later and I haven't gotten more of that interesting Saru weirdness.
Yeah, and I don't know what the magic formula is, but I agree with you that they should have gone there a little more with it. That would have been interesting. And it speaks to one of my issues with Discovery all along, is they don't give characters enough space and enough time to really evolve and develop. Yeah. And it's just some of it's modern storytelling and the lack of episodes that they have, but a lot of it's just like, dude, you focus on awkward chuckles and weird things like that don't amount to anything, when you could be developing the characters in a way that makes you care about them a lot more and showing them grow.
Yeah. I agree. And I think that is the modern pacing in a lot of ways. And I think it's the fact that it's a lot of characters and it's an overarching story that always has to be served by every episode. Mm-hmm. So you get a lot less episodes that are focused on one character, and you know, like the TNG era, like almost every episode is like focusing on one character is the main thrust of that episode. Like it is like, this is a Picard centric episode, this is a Geordi centric episode, this is a Worf, you know, like they do that a lot every season, and it doesn't take much. If you just get 1 or 2 episodes a season, that character feels like they've grown a lot by the end of 7 years or whatever, you know? Mm-hmm. But if you have, every episode has to be the entire ensemble, and it has to be, you leave the space behind that gives us great episodes like in the pale moonlight or whatever. Like that you just focused on one character. That's all you're really doing with that one.
Give me the in the pale moonlights. Give me the day-to-day. Take away the take me out to the holosuites.
Yeah, I hear you.
But yeah, it is what it is. I don't know. These are all very subjective things.
Yeah, for sure.
These are my preferences, and
yeah, I feel like you had some things really bothered you with these, and I understand. Yeah, I get that. I mostly really enjoyed these episodes.
I did too. That's the thing. Is just like it's frustrating to see something that would be so great if they would just like just tweak it a bit and focus more on. And like I still haven't forgiven them for how they've treated Adira and Gray. Or is that their name? I don't know. It's part of the problem. Like
I think that's right.
They came out and they were like, look, we've got the first trans and non-binary characters in Star Trek, and they did basically nothing with them.
Huh.
They wrote one off, and the other just continues to be very, very awkward, and we don't really see anything that they're doing. Like, how interesting would it have been? Because I had forgotten until I was like doing some research tonight, and I was like, I forgot all about the fact that Adira was a host to the symbiote for a while.
Yeah, I remember that.
And, DS9, they did like complex things with people's minds when they were hooked up to the host, and they had lots of feelings and lots of like personality shifts and stuff. And I haven't seen a lot of any of that here in Discovery because they don't have time to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know that they've given them any less space than they've given other characters. I do think this show, because of the way that it's made as an ensemble with Bo... I almost said Bo Burnham.
Michael?
With Michael Burnham as the thrust of the show, like, the show is just more Burnham focused,
It's Burnham, Saru, and Book. That's really what it is.
Yeah.
For the most part.
I mean, I would even just say Burnham. Like, I think Saru gets about
I'm trying to be
much.
kind.
Yeah, no, I think Saru gets about as much. Saru and Book get a lot of attention, but just because they're the closest ones to Burnham. And Tilly does too, for that same reason. I think the entirety of the rest of the crew, that goes for Stamets, Adira, Culver. Like, they're in the bowel of the ship, and it's like, in another era of Star Trek, you have episodes based around engineering that like really let you. And in the first season, you did, but like they don't really have those here. So they're like a room we check in with when there's a problem, and they're not giving us that many. It's weird too, because I feel like they did that in the first two seasons, but since they jumped to the 32nd century, it's just
it's just been like generic. Here are generic Federation-esque rooms where things are happening, and you don't know where they're at.
Yeah,
and then you've got freaking Kovich taking them to the freaking space between the panels.
Yeah,
it's just he's like the Matrix void over here.
Yeah. The what do you call it? The infinity room or infinite room?
The infinity room. Yeah. I expected a little girl to come out, from Angel.
Yeah.
Or a panther or something.
Like, or a panther or something.
That was from Angel, the wolf from in Heart.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
the wolf, the ram, the heart. I'm excited. I really am. I really am pumped about the season. I want it to be great. I want some really interesting, cool stuff with the progenitors, and I want, it to be a good resolution to the story. And I am excited that, as much as I've talked about how I don't like the fact that they're in two different time arenas with the 32nd century stuff and the 25th century stuff, I am excited to see this stuff continue, because I like Discovery more now than maybe I have, because, like I said, all the weight's off of it for me. It just feels like yeah, let's have a good time in this fantasy world that's very different from other Star Trek stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But still has the same heart to it, you know?
Yeah. Well, we'll see. We've got some feedback. You want to talk about that?
No.
Oh.
Yeah, I do.
Oh, okay. I was really bummed. I was like, I copied and pasted a lot of it, man.
Oh, wow. We got a lot of it?
Yeah, we got 3.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That
sounds like there was a real hard on those thumbs there, Dave. All that copying and pasting. Sounds like that was a hard time on you.
It was, man.
Copied and pasted 3 whole messages.
That's right.
Go for it.
It took me so long. You know, I'm really unfocused, so I keep forgetting how to copy and paste. No. Bubble on 5, The Shadow Cocktail is the title of this feedback from Timothy Castillo. Hello, Dave and Matt. I don't know if this will make it to your review of Season 5, Episode 1 and 2, but it's all good. Dave and Effie also loving the original series covers too. Thank you. I'll pass that on to Effie. Just a bunch of fun listening to the crazy banter with a Star Trek episode review sprinkled in. I think we're a little more focused than that, but only slightly. The action and special effects in these episodes were really stunning, I thought. I would love to watch some of these episodes on the big screen. They would be right at home there. I liked these episodes, but I feel like the weaknesses and strengths of the series are emphasized in these episodes. Yes. Beautifully cinematic, but that may come at a cost of the characters having substantial depth. The show would rather give us scenes where the characters talk about feelings rather than create emotion in telling a story. We're told that Stamets is having a hard time with losing the spore drive instead of experiencing it with him. I forgot about Stamets. We're told Book and Michael are sad about each other rather than seeing Michael go through some time without Book and letting us feel the loss with her. Kind of wish they had killed Saru, or at least wounded him. I don't hate the character. I like him a lot. I don't want him to die, in fact, but that would have given the season some teeth. This would have been a crap way for him to go out, though. So for that reason, I'm glad they didn't.
Yeah. Oh man, when he was talking about like how your new fiance she'd be so sad if you died, and then like she goes around. I was like, are they gonna kill Saru like that? Are they gonna like, you know, it's his last day before retirement. They go into the retirement party with the other police before they kill him. Kind of, you know, like, like this is a real terrible way to take Saru out. I with the whole like this is his last day and he's about to go get married. I really was like when he's like diving around behind rocks and shit. I was like, is he about to say I'm getting too old for this shit? Yeah,
like,
exactly.
It's like such a cliche. I love that Tim basically was like, I wish they'd killed Saru, and then talks his way back to I'm glad they didn't kill Saru. That part felt like a callback to the TNG episode with Riker, Tasha, and Data battling the remote drones mixed with lethal weapon. Electromagnetic immunity. Dude, I totally thought about those drones from that episode of Next Gen.
Oh, yeah.
That like season 1 episode.
Yeah, I remember that one.
However, that Promelian society that created the drones in this episode, they are from an episode of TNG called Booby Trap.
Oh, wow. Huh.
Different episode, though.
Nice. That's really fun.
Tim says, I really like that they are not withholding the major mystery. That is a huge plus for me. Me too, man. Yeah. And I'm really into this season's setup. I like Commander Captain. I don't remember his name, so I'm going to call him that instead. But I like him. If they had only found Fred's head like B4, he could have been Deadhead Fred. Like Drop Dead Fred?
Yeah, the Drop Dead Fred reference.
You're going to have to write in now and tell us if that was a Drop Dead Fred reference.
Because Drop Dead Fred's an important part of my childhood.
No panties! No panties! Cobwebs! Cobwebs!
Man, stuff like that really like... When you don't know anything about the opposite sex, or especially like... whatever, you know nothing about sex, your child. Okay. And then like that's like the only stuff you hear, like cobwebs, like, what is going on? Like, I don't really fully even understand the joke here, because I don't know enough to know what's going on. Also, I didn't know what cobwebs were.
Well, it depended. Like, when Drop Dead Fred slid underneath, like, a hot young lady, he was like, no panties, and he was excited. When he slid under the hated mother's skirt and looked up, he said cobwebs, which means that she's not active and has not been in quite a long time.
I understand now.
I understood it when I was a kid.
I was like 5. I don't know.
You were quite worldly back then.
No, I was a pious little one.
All right, Andre Sparks sends us a message. Discovery Season 5, Episodes 1+2, Kovich, Stare, and Planetary Clue. Hey guys, glad you and New Trek are back. 10 minutes into Episode 1, and I can say I still love the cinematic nature of this show. Starting with a super important mission like this with high stakes was smart. Kovich is no joke, man. I can already see that there will be much character development with the various crew members in the final season. After finishing the first episode, I definitely didn't see that ending coming. Episode 2 was full of surprises. Tilly's return and the last mission for Saru had me invested in the episode. I really didn't know if Saru was going to make it on the celestial head planet.
I totally thought of that.
Glad he did. The friendship of Michael and Saru is one of the best since Picard and Riker. I will agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
What do you two make of Rayner? He reminds me of Captain Shaw from Season 3 of Picard.
Totally.
Yeah, no, he doesn't remind me of Shaw, but he reminds me of somebody and I can't place it. Maybe, what is that dude? Who is that dude that's like in Sucker Punch and he was Stick on Daredevil?
I know who you're talking about, but I don't know his name.
Yeah, he was Stick, and he's always like, I'm an old sass talking sensei.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's what he reminds me of.
Yeah,
I think
Scott Glenn is his name. Yeah, I can definitely see that. But I also,
he's on The Leftovers too. That's right.
Yeah, that's right. I know, but also Rayner, the actor who plays Captain Rayner, I also know him from something, and I couldn't place it while I was watching, but yeah. Anyway, I was really interested in his story and where they're going with it, because I think like it's about the idea of taking this character who is like, you know, left behind by the times, and like we're working towards something new, or we're trying to build a different kind of world, and they're like holding on to the old way, and everything has to be a little more protectionist. Like, I think there's something going on with like them playing with the ideas of our world and politics and conservatives and liberals, and like, you know, and I like that they're, instead of just making him a villain, they're going to make him a character that challenges Michael and see where that common ground can be found. I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah. Will he be the Ron Swanson to Michael's Leslie Knope?
Exactly. You get it.
Andre continues, lastly, book with his deep emotional story again. I really thought he was about to say that was his daughter or something. Why do we think they, Maul and Locke, want this power, or are they working for someone else? Keep up the great work. Thank you, Andre.
Good question.
I don't have an answer.
This was a weakness in the episode, actually, for me. They don't exactly... they say, we found this ship.
Uh-huh.
We've been looking for this ship. We found it in this, like, graveyard of stuff. Where, like...
Is that what they said, Matt?
So they said it was like a gravitational anomaly that, like, was sucking in random, like, space trash. And it, like, was gathering all the space trash together, and that's where this ship was. It had been missing for, like, 600 years or 800 years.
800.
Whatever. And then they're like, let's go get it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, look, someone else found it, too.
Uh-huh.
But they didn't explain why it was suddenly findable.
Yeah.
So, like, it'd be one thing if they were like, suddenly a beacon went off inside of it, and we found it. But now that we can't turn the beacon off, and they should have given some sort of acknowledgement of like, they just said something like, this thing's worth a lot of people will be after it. And it's like, but it's been missing for 800 years. What is the likelihood that in this day that you're going to get it, some other crew of 2 people that seem like they're just smugglers are going to show up? And it made me think maybe there's some sort of something else going on, as he says, like, who sent them? Like, could there be someone in Starfleet that leaked this information? Could there be a separate faction? Could there be factionalism within Starfleet? Could there be a spy? I don't know.
Yeah.
It just seemed weird, and it was not explained, and if it's never explained, it will just be a thing that annoys me.
I hope it is explained. I will say that I feel like, and maybe I'm wrong, I rewatched TNG's The Chase.
Uh-huh.
And they kind of did the same thing, where it was like, here's Professor Galen. He has a top secret thing. He wants Picard to go with him and take like a year off of Starfleet and go do this thing. Picard says no. He takes off with his shuttle, and then suddenly, like, there's another race who shows up. And they're trying to, like, they know something about it. And then the freaking Klingons show up, and they know something about it. And we don't ever really find out why the Cardassians show up or the Romulans show up. It's like all of these people are like figuring out this just genetic clue, this puzzle with all of our DNAs across the galaxy.
Mm-hmm. All at the same time, yeah. Then that's the thing.
It's the Lorne Michaels thing. I love this, but why now?
You can make that make sense by giving like a throwaway line about how like a puzzle was suddenly like a transmission was sent to all 3 like groups at the same time, and now we're on a race to solve it. Like, there you go. That's all you need to do. Like, the fact that like it's been 800 years, or in that episode, I think it's been like millions of years or whatever, and it's just like suddenly they all show up on the same day. It doesn't make any sense, and I don't like it.
Yep. But they did the same thing in The Chase.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of things that does the same thing, they so they keep talking about this as possibly dangerous, what can be done with it, in the wrong hands, all this stuff. And it's the fact that it's also a creation device really makes me think Genesis too. Like, it makes me feel like this is a Genesis reference. So just thought that was cool.
Okay. Yeah. Maybe, I mean, you know, great, a device of great creative ability, but also could be
because we were really late in recording. Exactly. Yeah,
that kind of thing.
So Genesis device.
All right, and lastly, we got one from Stu Little, titled "Goonies in Space." Stu says, "Hey, good to be back, guys, and I hope this gets to you in time before you record." You did it.
You did it. We were very late this week.
Red Directive, glad to see Michael has used her captaincy to delegate dangerous/heroic stuff to other characters. I feel like that was sarcastic.
Yeah, I think so.
Federation Ambassador, anything to keep Saru from being captain, huh? I was confused about that, actually, like, because they were talking about like, oh yeah, he's taking another job, and then like he and Michael were like, oh, maybe it won't be for that long. They were kind of saying,
they said for now. This is last mission for now, which like because to take that job, he has to resign his Starfleet commission, but he could always come back to Starfleet eventually.
Yeah, so it kind of seems like maybe he's like, yeah, I'll be back.
Yeah.
That just takes all the weight out of it, though.
I don't think so. I mean, resigning your commission to Starfleet is a big deal. He's been doing this since Starfleet is the thing that got him off his planet. It's like all he knows, and now he's leaving it to go do a completely different kind of work. He's still working for Starfleet in a different way. I think the idea is he's going to be an advocate for those planets. So the idea is you have to resign your Starfleet commission because it's hard to be an advocate for the planets when you are a Starfleet officer. So I think it's really cool idea. But yeah, I mean, obviously, if things don't work out, he could always come back if he wanted to.
Sure. Stu continues, judging from their helmets, the villains are from Tron. I did not expect that. Michael using the beam function of her phaser to cut through the hull of the ship. I retract all criticism I have ever had of the character.
Wait, when?
I don't know. What he's talking about. She used the beam function of her phaser to cut through the hull of the ship.
Like the one the ship she's riding?
I guess so.
I don't remember her even doing that. Okay.
I don't either. I really don't.
I thought she just was like, I don't even know what she was doing. That's the thing. She's trying to, I guess, destroy the engines, but she's just like, they did not do a good job of explaining what's going on there. They're like, no. You got to release the tractor beam or you'll blow us all up. But I'm firing a weapon into their engines, which is the thing that is disrupting their warp bubble. But also, yeah, it was weird.
It was weird, and when it gets all whiz-bangy, I don't pay as much of attention as I should. Like, I'm just like, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm tired. I'm 40. I have a saxophone lesson to get to. I retract my retraction due to that terrible one-liner. Michael says to look up any family Fred has. I swear to God, if this is a way to give Brent Spiner another role.
I sure hope so.
The Romulan log is garbled. I'm starting to worry this mystery box is part of a mystery box plot. That lengthy argument during the bike chase should have really had a lot more of them coughing up the sand that got into their uncovered mouths. I agree. That bugs me.
Well, I will say, it looked like out in front, it did have some sort of actual shield. When some of the larger rocks hit it, you saw a shield appear. So maybe, just maybe, there was actually a shield around the people. It was just that we were seeing the dust fly by them, but it wasn't getting in their mouths because it's not actually on them.
Yeah. Okay. I'll give you that one.
Headcanon.
Stu says, I have to admit these instantaneous personal transporters would be really unnerving to me in real life. People were constantly just popping in and out of nowhere all the time like that. Also, holograms. Their holograms just pop in from nowhere. Like, Hello, struggling female. I will come help you. It is me, Rainer, here to mansplain. Sorry.
Well, and that was what was... I was really wondering what they were doing with the Rainer thing, because, like, it seemed like he was... Like, he did the thing where he popped in and he was, like, monitoring their communication, which he was not allowed to be doing on this, like, super secret mission. So he was definitely, like... Yeah, it's that thing of, like, when is Starfleet enforce the rules? It's like, Tilly broke into a thing, and Vance had to pretend he didn't catch her to let her continue, but then there's still no consequences for anyone.
Yeah, it's all catawampus, man.
Yeah.
Stu says the progenitors, oh my God, they're doing fucking Prometheus.
Oh, I haven't seen Prometheus.
Is that a alien thing?
Yeah, Alien Prometheus is like a is a thing. I've never seen it. I keep meaning to. There's like a new Alien show coming out. I've been thinking about going and doing like a Binger's Assemble on all the
but Noah Hawley said it's not connected to anything.
So. I do. They're also doing a new Alien movie, I think, too.
Yeah, they are.
I don't know which side that's connected to. But Noah Hawley said that it's not connected. It's not going to talk about the stuff from Prometheus, but it didn't say that it's going to decanonize it, if that makes sense. So it might just be that, like, the stuff from Prometheus doesn't have anything to do with the stuff from whatever the show is.
Whatever, man. I'm just sad he's not directing that Star Trek movie.
Me too.
Under the Twin Moons, I don't think I've ever heard such quiet. That was weird. He says, you work in space, Saru. It's a vacuum. And also, like, in the scene where he says that, they're on this planet and, like, the wind is blowing kind of noisily.
Yeah, there's birds chirping. There's wildlife.
Leaves and shit flying around.
Yeah. It's not that quiet.
No, it wasn't.
Also, the cliff they're standing on and the way they look down at that vista and everything reminded me a lot of the episodes from season 1 when we first see him run, when he, like, gets those, like, spores talk to him. You know what I'm talking about? And he, like, becomes enamored with the spores and decides to try to destroy the satellite and then almost destroys the Federation or whatever because he's crazy Saru. Yeah.
Stu says, an EMP, what is this, a movie from 1996? Fair point. I kind of feel like Starfleet are really overcomplicating this whole race to the treasure. Locke and Maul want a payday, and I'm sure the Federation could afford to pay a fortune for what they found.
I think that's what Book called them to offer them, but then they refused.
Yeah. But he was like super, super impatient. He called him, he's like, he didn't answer. Give it a second, man.
You mean Stamets?
No. I thought when Book was calling Maul and Locke.
No, it was
when
Stamets.
He sent the message, he was like, I know I can send this message and it'll get to them. And he sends the message and he's like, they're not answering.
No, that was Stamets.
Was it Stamets?
Yeah, he sends the message and Stamets says, any response? He's like, not yet. Give it a minute. They'll respond. And then they do.
Somebody was very impatient. And I was like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I was like, it was a text. Text, if you call someone and they don't answer, sure, you're upset they didn't answer. But if you text someone, there's a social contract that they have a little bit of time to respond.
They've been a little lovey-dovey. They might be in the middle of something.
It's true.
We're taking a dump.
Also true. But let's face it, it's the easiest time to respond to texts.
Not everyone is you, Matt.
Yes, they are.
Or me. I'll totally respond to a text while taking a dump. That's usually the only time I take it.
That's exactly what I'm saying. It's like finally you have a minute to look at your phone, you know? Catch up on emails, texts.
Yep.
Play a little Sudoku.
Saru insisting his wound is no big deal for the second time. Uh-oh.
I know, right? I kept thinking that. Like the way she's like, you all right? And he's like, I am fine, Michael. And it's like, are you all right? Like they really hung lanterns like it seemed like he was going to die this episode.
Yeah.
It actually, now it makes me wonder. Now I'm really wondering. You know, they did reshoots on this whole season.
I don't know that. I know they did a reshoot of the final episode.
Oh, I thought they did reshoots sprinkled
parts
through the
of
season.
the final episode.
I was just going to say, like, I wonder if they decided, like, they were going to kill him off here, and then they decided, oh, how about we just send him away and then bring him back in the last episode? That's kind of cuter. Let's just send him away to be an ambassador. Let's have him say goodbye instead.
We'll see. I think he'll be in every damn episode.
Yeah, it's pretty likely.
He ain't gonna be away. He's gonna be off the ship.
If he is off the ship the entire season, it will really make me wonder if they like inserted the whole thing about him getting the ambassadorship into this episode and then inserted him into the last episode.
Yeah. I'm curious. Could have told the board what they wanted to hear. Hey, the first duty of every Starfleet officer is to the truth, whether it's scientific truth or historical truth or personal truth. It is the guiding principle on which Starfleet is based, and if you can't find it within yourself to stand up and tell the truth about what happened, you don't deserve to wear that uniform. Damn, Stu got serious.
Mm-hmm.
2 full episodes where nobody cries? Is this even Star Trek Discovery anymore? Actually, I saw, Michael was very teary-eyed.
But did she cry?
I don't know. She might have. I'm getting kind of old. My eyes aren't that great.
I feel like the Saru forehead touch, she got real dang close.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was a smile cry.
They was dewy.
Mm-hmm.
They was dewy and glistening.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Might have been all that misty plant water.
Yeah. It was an allergic reaction to some plant in his arboretum.
Yeah. Also, hold on. You're on a starship. It's like a submarine. There's only so much space you have. Like you don't keep an officer's room ready for them. That's not how spaceships work. I'm sorry. Saru doesn't get his arboretum room to just sit there and be empty forever. That's stupid. Mm-hmm. It's stupid. There are lower deckers with terrible space. And just because they're keeping Saru's arboretum room active, that's a waste of resources.
They could take a little room out of the massive turbo lift space.
I don't like it.
The ginormous turbo shafts.
I really hated her being like, your room will always be here for you. Right here the way you left it.
Yeah. Stu says, good 2 opening episodes. The treasure hunt is fun and the stakes are interesting, though I'm not really sure why finding out who the progenitors are is classed as something that would threaten the Federation. Because their technology is so much more vast than anything they know, man. That's why.
Yeah.
Stu says, but I think I skipped over that episode of TNG this is all based off of. Once again, I have to ask, who was taking the photos / filming the footage that the characters get their images from at the time? I like Book, and it's nice he's back and non-angsty, but I continue to not give a shit about him having family drama as a plotline, especially when things like this tend to act as spoilers to essentially say this character isn't going to die and is going to turn good, which basically leaves her boyfriend with the temper as likely villain by the end. Liking Rayner a lot too, and modern Star Trek's trend of casting people from Battlestar Galactica and Star Trek's that Ron Moore has nothing to do with continues. More Owo though. Yeah. Yeah, you're absolutely right, Stu. I didn't see it, but yeah, Maul will turn out to be a good guy, probably. And Locke is going to be a dickbag, and he's going to be the bad guy.
Interesting. I don't know that I see that.
I hope it's not true.
Yeah, I didn't notice him having a temper. I mean, like they were both a little brash, but like in that like just normal sort of smuggler way. I do think they talked in earlier how they can be violent, but they never choose violence. So it's very, very like, okay, well maybe these are good guys. But then when they like blew up they intentionally created the avalanche, I was like, these are kind of bad guys. Though
it might be one of those things where they're like, we are going to do something that we know they will stop,
right?
Just so they can't follow us.
But do they know the Federation that well? Does anyone at this point trust the Federation that well?
I don't know.
That's my point.
They have a reputation already as being do-gooders, goody-goodies.
Sort of. They used to. They just now started doing good again. Like they were being all protectionist and like locked in their little bubble, remember? And they were like trying to survive. And it wasn't until the Discovery got there that like they got out and started seeing the universe again and like trying to do good again, it seems. Like it really, it's weird.
I'll be honest, I don't know how much time has passed. And it seems like last season, they were really doing like a big community outreach and trying to get like a lot of new members in. And we're really like polishing that pewter. You know, everybody just circle jerking each other, talking about how great and progressive and wonderful the Federation is and be under our umbrella and we'll do the things. And
yeah,
I mean, clearly these people might have heard of them and we're like, okay.
And it's been long enough that Michael and a Book feel weird about seeing each other and having not talked. So it's not too short, but yeah, I don't know. It felt a little weird because I do think those guys are going to end up being like not bad guys. Like I don't think they're necessarily going to be good, but I think they're going to be scoundrels, but not bad. But then that action of blowing up the avalanche felt a little like over the line, a little unforgivable. Because even the people on the ship weren't sure they were going to be able to stop it, you know? So, like, how are they so sure that the Federation was going to not only want to stop it, but be able to? So, seemed a little big swing there. Big swing to put that many innocents at risk. Yeah. I think it's pretty likely, you know, I think it's pretty likely that Book, I know they did this last season, so I kind of hope they don't do this. I think it was, last season. But I think it's pretty likely Book will end up... I don't know if he'll end up on the other side of this whole thing, but I do think it's likely he will try to get out from under the Federation and do his own thing. Like, he's clearly wanting to be free, and I think if he's pushed a little too far, he could, like, turn against the Federation and just not necessarily try to destroy it, but try to get away, try to be free of it.
Yeah. I'm interested to know what they do. I like the actor.
Oh yeah, me too.
But so far it's back and forth. Like I hate saying anything definitively. Like I don't like this character. I haven't liked what they've done because like I've liked a lot of what they've done, and then other things have just been like to fall back on a word that I despise, mid.
Yeah. I hear you.
It's just okay, and I saw that coming, and it wasn't a.
I think it's the biggest thing about this is like it's the same way it works for all these Trek shows. If you do an overarching story, it has to land perfectly because you're taking one swing. I've said this before, especially around Picard era. You're taking one swing. So if that season doesn't end well, if you don't remember the season arc as ending well and the whole season is supposed to fit together as a piece, the whole thing falls apart. But if you take 10 episodes and they each have a different thing happening, all you need is like 2 amazing ones and you have such fond memories of that season. You know what I mean? Like I'm thinking back on Strange New Worlds. I barely remember. I can't like off the top of my head think of that many episodes. I probably could if I sit here for a minute, but like I'm not going to. But like the one with Mbinga being the, with the knife and everything.
Mm-hmm. Under the cloak of war.
That episode completely earns that season for me. So they got 10 chances to make that episode that ends perfectly and leaves me sitting and thinking for days about it, and for years about it. I will be thinking about that episode and how cool and interesting it is. When you do a whole season, you got one shot, and they haven't landed the plane as well.
I am a huge proponent of doing serialized but non-serialized. Like,
exactly.
You open up a problem. Episode 2 is not about that problem, but episode 4, we get back into the problem a little bit. 5 and 6 might not be about that problem.
Right.
But and not 8, but 9 and 10.
Right. I really like the burn notice model.
Yeah.
Of kind of opening and closing episodes with the major problem, but giving us an almost completely unrelated story in the middle. Where it's like,
I like that sometimes.
Yeah. Like,
I go back and forth.
It's kind of what you're talking about, but the second episode, you still know the problem's there. It's in the background, but it just sort of like, it's sort of the bread on the sandwich of the episode. The episode, has whatever meat it wants to.
Which is not to say that I want the show to be any show to be procedural.
No. Never.
Because just run the knife along that calf's throat. Yeah. I'm done with that shit.
Yeah. I hear you. All right. Well,
I'm good though.
That's all the feedback. Yeah, I think that's all. We've gone way longer than I expected. And I'm gonna go to bed. By the time this is up, the new episode will have already dropped. But we'll be in the next couple of days hopping on here to cover episode 3. We are not going to stay behind a week. I promise. We just I was in Austin all week and went over there for the eclipse. It was very nice, but did not have the ability to record, and I'm sad about it because we finally got new Star Trek, and I happened to be the 1 week I couldn't do any. So, all right.
Yeah.
Well, as they said this episode. Jolan True.
Live long and prosper.
Thank you for listening to the Star Trek Universe Podcast, a Stranded Panda production. If you'd like to hear more from David C. Roberson, check out the DC On Screen podcast or maladjusted.tv for his web videos. If you'd like to hear more from Matthew Carroll, check out the Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast or listen to his music. Just search for Matthew Carroll anywhere you get music.